Okay, so it's recording. Hello, TJdoeslife. For those who somewhat follow my channel, I'm back from Paris. This will be the first video I'm uploading since I'm back. However, I did record a couple of videos when I was there of a variety, a small variety of interest. I don't know. Whatever. The reason I'm making this a walk-in talk is, well, because I'd like to, it's convenient for me. I'm walking to my summer chemistry class, and also this will be put on to the Conference of the Birds channel. This is for the Conference of the Birds channel, not only just to respond to TJ, but also I think TJ struck on something. He did say a couple things of, I think, of great importance. His whole video was kind of helpless meandering through the pathways of the subject that we're talking about, which is science and art. But I think this could be the start of a really good discussion, and I know Fred had his hopes up for this channel, Conference of the Birds, to try to get us, walking at least in the same direction, or trying to walk to the same destination. A common subject, a common goal, walking side by side, trying to find the correct path, finding the answer to some sort of common subject, and I think this could be a good one. So I encourage my friends at Conference of the Birds, so Fred, Greytex, Slaxer, Bike Messenger, and the others, which I do appreciate, but right now I can't remember their usernames. My apologies. Go check out TJ's video. I will link it, and it'll be also, this is a video response to it. And I have to get to school, but I will be continuing this right away. Please watch that video. Also Gary. I know Gary doesn't like TJ too much. I'm not really sure where that is right now, but I still think, Gary, you'll have something interesting to say about this. Really, I just think it's an interesting subject. I think the most people that can join this discussion, as far as it comes to YouTube users, like video producers, should, because I think different personalities will have something different to say, and we'll get a good discussion out of this. So, I am both an art student and a science student. I just finished doing 3 years of illustration and design, which is a mixture of art theory, art production, I guess in the technique. It is called a technical program, but there are goals. It's not just how to paint, it's how to create a work that works visually, many times with a theme. It has to get a message across. So we aren't just painting, we aren't just illustrating, even though it's called illustration, and most of us want to become illustrators, because illustration always has a goal. I think, on this note, it would fit me to say that illustration is an art form, because you're always trying to get an emotion across, just trying to get, even if sometimes it's, as a slave of, a corporation that's paying you to, advertise a product. But nevertheless, you're always trying, whether or not it's through an intellectually honest way, good art is always getting a message across. And that's pretty much what we studied. We studied the technique and the theory of getting a message across. now, because I also like biology. I'm also interested in biology. I'm taking a 2-year. Right now I have to do my high school chemistry. That's not really important. I'm going to be doing 2-year science program, and that's so that I can do a bachelor's in biology. So, what I was getting at, because of that, nice place, a solitary place to talk in the bathroom. What I was getting at is that I'm going to be making a career. Professionally, my life is going to be finding a balance of the two, science and art, dealing with the two on a day-to-day basis. Just in terms of my interests and the way I make an income, and my life's pursuit. The interest of discovery is going to be both finding new ways to understand, because what I'm very interested in is neurobiology. So for all I know, I'm probably going to go into a direction of neurobiology, but also in a direction of art. It's going to be funny seeing how the two mix, because really what art is actually no, I'll get to this later because there's something else I wanted to say right now. I'm going to be making a living off of dealing with those two, juggling those two, science and art, and that's really what this discussion is. TJ is advocating the mastery of the two. Not really the mastery of the two, but the I don't know what the word is. The coping with the two together, so that they can work together. Because without one or the other, life is just going to be. It's going to be kind of a lame experience. Being all emotional and all communicating, that can feel nice, but when practical problems come, you can't just paint a nice picture. You can't just write a poem and all things go away. You can use those as emotional motivators. But you have to have a kind of understanding. There is a technique to it. And it's the same thing with art itself, with the practice of art. You can't just have a nice idea that you want to communicate. You can't have a nice, pretty picture in your head. You can, but that's only going to please yourself. You need to have a technique. You have to put into practice. Same thing with art and science. It's good to have. You need to have a sense of self-direction. You have to understand your emotions. You have to understand how to, even philosophy, which it tries to be scientific because you need to have a structure to organize that system. But it too is dealing with emotions and ways of life that don't really have to do with neurobiology. But also you need to have the tools, the understanding to put that into practice in a stable way. So this is really, what's important. What TJ is saying is that just because you understand the brain, it doesn't mean that even if you perfectly understand how the brain works, in a biological or neurological sense, what pathways lead to where, what this and that, it doesn't mean that you can live a perfect life. It doesn't mean that you can be a perfectly sane person. It doesn't mean that you're going to think in the most efficient way possible in order to get what you want in life. There's two different things there. It's two completely different practices. It's like in the comment section of TJ's video I said, just because you're a good engineer doesn't make you an expert driver. Those are two different approaches. And I think what that is, I'm going to have to get back to class now, but on my way there, I think what that is this is where I'm going to slightly disagree with TJ, and I'm going to elaborate after my class is over. What that is that it's not so much that we will never understand it in and of itself, like TJ says. TJ says that you can understand the workings of it, but you can never understand it in and of itself. And I think I need to make a distinction here. And I will make that as soon as my class is over and I am free to go. On the way there, I guess I'll start up on it. I think that TJ is wrong in the sense that there are people that are not scientists, that do not study the system of, I guess, emotions, the system of the artistic experience, or of the rainbow, I guess, because you use that as a metaphor, that aren't scientists, that don't understand how it comes about in a scientific sense. There are artists that study their whole life, but every single work that they do just resounds in that kind of spiritual sense, not in a religious way, but I mean in an emotional way, in an intellectual way. And they understand it. They understand the technique of making an idea that people can understand. They understand the technique of making something that's emotionally built, something that communicates an idea. They understand the composition. They understand the way of thought, the way someone looks at a piece of work and thinks. They understand that. And TJ is saying, I think he is saying that they can't. But this isn't, they do understand it, but it's through a different technique of learning, through of experience, of contemplation, of benefiting from a work of art, from reality. And I'll get into that right after. Alright, so the master artist has learned these things. He can appeal to the majority of humans, you know, the norm of human appreciation for the aesthetic or the intellectual. You know, if the art piece is trying to appeal to some sort of intellectual idea, but the neurobiologist likely doesn't have that ability. Like TJ says, he has the understanding how the human mind works, but in practice he can do something like make a beautiful painting, you know, painting that the human mind will find beautiful. Because it's two different ways of studying things, and this is something that, you know, I'm starting to develop now. I thought about it a little bit since this is my last bit, and I'm getting at something here. It's two different ways of study. Let's go back to the simple example of the automobile. The engineer has studied the inner workings, the inner system, maybe the pixels, like TJ put it. He studied the inner workings of the car. But in order to drive it well, in order to race with it well, in order to maneuver yourself well in a setting, like a taxi driver or a race car driver, you have to take the car and you have to give it a test run. You have to drive it many times. It's the outer workings of the car, how the car manages itself in an external system, whatever that may be, the racing track or the city or the forest, whatever kind of vehicle it is or whatever kind of setting. But that's the idea. It's two different areas of study. For example, the neurobiologist knows how the brain works on the inside, but the psychologist knows more or less how it works on the outside. And these different areas of study have their own peculiarities, so I'm not going to say that a psychologist is as accurate or is as factual as a neurobiologist, or even a philosopher. A philosopher studies, I would say, ideas that have to do with our society. So a philosopher doesn't really examine the human mind, but he examines memes. Memes that that inhabit the mind and come out of the mind through actions and inhabit our society and how it works. And I don't think by simply analyzing the physiognomy of the brain that we'll understand philosophy any better than we already do. Because it's a completely different area. The philosopher needs to look at the external system of our society and the ideas such as love, hate, war, these memes that go in and out of our minds, in and out of our society, in and out of history on a massive scale, and figure out how they work. And our society is always changing, so philosophy might have to change. Philosophy will just get better because we'll have more examples to draw from. But the human mind goes through a very slow evolution. Evolution is slow. So we have a better, it's a lot easier to study the human body because it doesn't change as much as society changes over time. So maybe that's why philosophy is always so changing, because you have so many different vantage points from different kinds of societies, but all neurobiologists are studying more or less the same brain. So that's the thing, a neurobiologist, like TJ says, can't get cocky and say, I understand the human mind, and so I understand the world, I understand all of human existence. It doesn't work like that. But I disagree with TJ in the sense that there is a way to study that. There is a way to know it. There is a way to make the painting with a certain kind of study or understanding. It's not by studying the paint, it's by studying art itself. It's by being an artist. It's by trial and error. Figuring out what kind of composition works. Figuring out what's appealing. It's a different kind of study. I have more to say on this subject, but that's the end of that anecdote right there. So I guess to further lay out what I'm saying here is that now I have not read Sam Harris either, but I have heard him talk. But now while Sam Harris says that we can find out, we can approach a kind of objective morality or perfect morality, morality that works the most, more than any other. I don't think it's through what we understand right now as areas that science covers. Like I just said, is that scientists can't get cocky and say that we can understand society and philosophy, etc., just by studying the human brain. We can study the human brain in relation to society, in relation to history, in relation to each other. Like I was saying, the memes, the ideas that circulate the human mind, not just the mind itself. The mind is a container for these ideas, for these things that act not so much independently of us, but as if they were their own entities. But you can study it. Like I said, history, the evolution of history and of philosophy is merely a case of getting more and more samples of how these ideas work. And I do think that we can figure out, a moral system that can work. I'm inclined to believe that because, society changes. Maybe one day our brains will evolve so that how we understand violence or love won't be the same. They won't be the same things within our minds anymore, physically. So we might have to change our definition. We have to change our philosophy again. So maybe, I guess, I'm inclined to believe that there is, given the system that we have now, the society that we have now, the physiognomy that we have now, there is a theoretical perfect morality, a theoretical perfect social system, even though it's way beyond us, because just just looking at all the samples that we have, let's say all of human history, all the different sides that human history has had, that's just so much data, and no one person can do that, can look through all that data, without cherry picking, without skimming through it, and figure out, the perfect answer, perfect system. So it's more of a theoretical possibility. It's not really me saying that I'm not even saying it's possible for someone to figure it out, unless it's by accident. But maybe one day, if our lifespan goes longer, we will be able to do these kinds of things. If people can live long enough, or if people, if somehow our minds become smarter through technology or evolution or whatever, we can find these answers. But now I'm slightly going off topic, because right now I'm talking specifically about society. But so really the topic is art and science. Art and science. I'll be back. Maybe that's what I really liked about TJ's video. Is that just the ideas, the couple of ideas, the very few ideas that he brought up, even if it was a very vague and confused way, has the potential to bring me and I think other users on tangents like this, useful tangents, because I think it's a very rich issue. And you can, to use the walking metaphor again, that Fred conference report uses, is, it can bring you many places, and you can see some pretty rich sights. Just sort of this. I guess an overall message that I'm getting at here, maybe I laid this out before, but just to concentrate it a little bit better, is that an understanding of is never going to be it in and of itself. But I do think that the understanding of the workings of something, the understanding, I guess I can go back to the painting metaphor again, the understanding how to make a painting, both technically, emotionally, idealistically, will facilitate the creation of a good artwork, perhaps the ideal artwork, if you have enough knowledge. While TJ was saying that understanding of will never, of the workings of, will never really be understanding of in and of itself. I think he meant to say that the understanding of the brain will never lead to a perfect understanding of the mind. And I think I pretty much laid down my opposition to that idea, that there are more than one ways to understanding the mind, because it's something that holds memes. Same thing with the painting. There's more to a painting than simply the paint strokes. There's ideas, there's emotion, but just like there's mastery over paint strokes, there's mastery over the ideas of a painting, the composition of a painting. And I guess a more complicated metaphor, like the one that TJ used later on, was the female body, aesthetic beauty, because that's something that's it's more of a social thing. When you want to attain that, there's more. It's not really an artwork unless you're into like statues or stuff. That's more like manufactured pornography. But the actual physical body of the opposite sex, that's a social matter. But and yet still there are people that understand the workings of their at least local social system enough that they know how to get girls easily. They know where to go, what kind of people to hang out with, what cues there are. There are sexologists, there are sociologists that specialize in this stuff. And I don't know if this is, I guess, a proper response to TJ's declaration that understanding how that emotional response works does not give you an understanding of the thing in and of itself. But I do think I'm getting at it, getting at the general subject. So I think without pretending or faking any kind of responses and just elaborating even further, I think this is the point where I should stop this video and wait for comments, just to have a good discussion. And I hope, TJ, if you're watching this, that you'll give a word out on this, because I think this will make a good dialogue between multiple users, not just myself. I wait for my fellow birds in our walk and talks to also give a word on this subject, because I think we can explore it more, clear up some misunderstandings, hopefully if TJ responds, and how I'm understanding his point of view, so we can have an even better, more fruitful videos, more fruitful discussion. So, this is where I will leave you, viewers.